All right. Okay, so we don't have much review to do yet because I know you haven't seen that last one and haven't been able to completely apply what the last one said. But the fun thing about this is sort of a repeat of last week in the fact that we're going to talk about how to talk to people in a group and find their needs. So like you'll see how they sort of overlap, but there's a specific way to do it when it's in a whole group. Does that make sense? Okay. So it's going to be kind of fun that way. So the first thing, and so the reason why I keep looking over here is because that's where my notes are on my other screen. There's Miss Hilarie. Hello, girlfriend. All right. So here, I can mute you real easy. Muted. Okay, perfect. All right. Hilarie, do you know if anyone besides, I'm hoping Barb isn't having a problem and she read the email. I mean, it's pretty easy to get on, right? It was easy to get on?
Yeah, I thought so. I already had that downloaded, though, when we talked the last time.
Oh, good.
But I know Marie was planning on it. And I know Barb had something till 1, but I thought that meant she was getting on. So.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to get started.
Hey, Gina.
Hi.
You're on here, Gina.
Can you hear me?
Oh. That's so funny. Okay. All right. So the first thing I want to get started with, you're going to see every time I'm going to talk about something that has to do with goal setting. Okay. I will continue to talk about goal setting. I wonder who this is. I see someone on a phone. Okay, my friend who I can't see. Will you just tell me who you are?
It's Samsung, I think.
Whose is that one?
I think it's Barb.
Hey, Barb. If that's you or if it's Marie, either way, hello.
Hey.
It's your own hubby. What's wrong with you, Hilarie? I'm sorry. Just teasing. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to get started here. Okay, so I'm always going to go back to talking about what is wrong here. Let's see here, I gotta be smarter than me. Okay, so I will always go back to goal setting because you've got to keep that energy up to do things that kind of are uncomfortable sometimes, okay? So that's one of the things that you want to do. So we're gonna first, if you've seen, the agenda looks a little bit different. I've got the logo on there, and I want to give you plenty of information of things that you can keep your energy up with. So I'm always going to include another book and a couple movies, and these are not required by any means. They're just fun. And for some families, especially families with teens and older kids, these movies are awesome. Nothing's ever rated worse than a PG-13. Sometimes PG-13s some families aren't comfortable with. I know one I sent out, and it was the Freedom Writers, and it's about an inner city group that starts to write and what they learn from it. Well, it's an inner city group, so of course the language was going to be a little bit on the edgy side, which made a mom a little uncomfortable, which I felt really bad. But anyway, it's just one of those things. So look at the rating, look at what it says if it's not comfortable for your family. These are ones that we watch at my house. So Invictus, that is a movie that is done, let's see, it's Nelson Mandela and his rugby team in South Africa, how he used that team to bring his country together. And it's just, I love this movie, and I don't know why it's not more well known. Matt Damon is in it, and Friedman, what's Friedman's first name? Anyway, it's an amazing movie. Love this movie. But it's a really odd name, but it's named after this poem that he likes. And then October Sky, that one's kind of an oldie but goodie. If you haven't ever seen that one, that's about the boys who learn about how to make their own rockets. And it's one of our favorite here at our house. And then a book that's I'm going to say this over and over again, one of my favorites, sorry, I need to come up with a different word than favorite, is The Success Principles. And what I love about this book is it's lots of little short stories. So if you download that off of Audible or find it at the library or something like that, I love to listen to it with my husband and my kids and stuff in the car because they're short enough stories that you can, run a quick errand, hear a story, get a little inspiration, and be done. It's not something that you have to really think about hard. There's a lot of cool stories. My kids love this book. So, and we don't sit around and read. We listen to books on tape. That's kind of our thing, but everybody's different. So it's just kind of fun. So one of the first things I want to talk to you about, if you read the chapter today was motivational visual aids. And so this could be a big trip that you want to go on. This could be, I have one gal and her goal is to feel like a successful businesswoman. She has this image of what this woman looks like, what she's wearing, the expression on her face. That is something that's important to her. For you guys, it might be a trip. It might be a title you're trying to earn, whatever it might be. But to take something that's a visual and put that in several strategic places. I have people do their screensavers on their phones, on their computers, keychains. One of my favorite things is to take Avery labels and you make your own sticker and you run your Avery labels through your printer. And then, so say it's Disneyland, you put the Magic Kingdom, the castle, you put those off and you put them all over the house and remind you to save money and not spend money, if you're trying to save for a trip, whatever it might be, or making sure every day you're making your contacts or your phone calls or whatever it is, you want to connect an action to something specific that you want to get. So if you take something from your bucket list that you'd really like to get in the next 4 to 6 months and start visualizing that, start putting some energy into focusing on that and just see the amazing things that happen because it's really kind of fun. All right, so today's lesson is about creating the mood when you're with a group. And this is one of my most favorite tools. I really got to come up with different words than favorite. And when you're working in a group, now let me ask both of you, unmute yourselves and let me know how often do you meet in a group versus do you meet one-on-one with people? Can you do classes or something else in a group?
I don't do as much stuff as Hilarie, but I've been averaging at least 1 or 2 classes a month. Mostly I do classes.
Mostly you do classes? Would you like to be doing more classes?
Not really.
No, that's totally fine.
Well, no, I just work full time, so it's hard.
Yeah.
But that's the best way for me to talk to the most people at once versus trying to go out and find people. But then the problem is getting people to the classes. So it's a catch-22. Well,
and all these things, just so you know, all these systems that I teach you with asking questions, every single one of them, whether it's helping our hostesses be motivated to get people there, or it's motivating people and helping them find out exactly what they need so they buy more, and then you can also upsell. You know what upsell means? So they buy one thing and then it's like, well, you got this thing for your child, but you talked about your husband's back pain. Should we put that one on too, or would you like to get it in 2 weeks? Upselling is helping them buy the next thing that you can see they need. Okay. And even with recruiting, asking questions to find out why they might want to sign up and be a business partner with you, or that you have people that are signed up but trying to help them stay motivated. Every single one of these areas, these kind of questions are going to come into play, okay, and will really help that. So this is also, when you start doing your classes in this way, you will see more people have a desire to have classes because the way you run it this way. It really does make a difference, okay? All right, so the first thing, the whole goal with this is that often when people come to a class or a presentation or something along those lines, most people are expecting just to be talked at, okay? Meaning they sit down, this person does all the talking, and they just sit and listen and, maybe head nod. What we want to do is involve our audience as much as we can, because people get more involved and they listen better when they've done some speaking. The other thing that's really cool that happens is that you find out more about that person. Have you ever had a person really quiet in a class and then you sit down with them and go, hey, what were you interested in that you saw tonight? but because they didn't say anything through the whole class, you have no idea even where to start with them. Have you ever had that experience? Okay, and it's kind of like unnerving. It's kind of hard to know what to do or where to start. So this helps those kind of things, okay? So the first thing we want to do is we want to get people just listening and head nod, and the first thing we want to do is just ask a rhetorical question. So asking something along the lines of, tell me, are your medications that either you take or you give to your children or maybe your grandchildren are taking that are over the counter, you know, you get in your prescription aisles, you know, your pharmacy aisles at the grocery store, are these things that you ever kind of wonder and worry about the safety of them in the long run for your family? Is that something that's ever a concern to you? Okay, so that could be something that you could ask in a group. Okay, and people are you're gonna get the head nod, or I don't know, or yeah, sort of, or I've been thinking about it. Okay, and then you ask, tell me, what are some medications that either you or your family take, let's say on a regular basis, anywhere from daily to monthly, that you would love to see if there's a replacement for that medication. Okay, so can you see how if every single person answered a medication that they'd love to replace, how all of a sudden the doors are open to how you know what to help them with? Okay, wouldn't that be an amazing experience to know something that they'd like to replace? Because my understanding is, what's the number? I know you have what? It's over 50. Is it 70 different oils? How many different oils? It's a lot, right? So if we just talk about your top 3, which I know you have a top 3, 5, 10, but you may miss out on a sale because you don't allow people to talk about what they need, okay? So asking what medication they'd like to replace, or what's your most frustrating physical ailment, or anything like that, okay? Then the next thing you want to do is go and, so after everybody's talked and had their 2 cents, and it's hard, so let me warn you, the first thing that happens, if you've ever, for some reason, this is my favorite example, if you've ever sat in a church, like Sunday school type class, and people like involve the audience, and somebody asks a question, there's this ugly pregnant pause. Nobody wants to be the first person to answer. And then after one person talks, then everybody has to have their 2 cents. Have you ever seen that happen in a situation like that? Or it might be a women's group, or, you know, anything where there's public participation. Nobody wants to be number 1, but after that, the floodgates open. So if there's this ugly pregnant pause when you ask the question and you're like, Michelle said they were supposed to start talking, oh my gosh, all you have to do is just take a deep breath, either ask the hostess, because the hostess is doing this because she knows a little more usually than all her other guests, right? Okay, she usually has some emotionally invested reason for doing it. Or you'll see someone, you see the look on their face and you can see the wheels turning in their head, and you'll be like, I can see that there's something you're thinking about. Any chance you'd be willing to share with us what you're thinking about? And you get that first person going, and it's like, floodgates go. Then everybody has to have their piece, okay? So just know that sometimes that pregnant pause at first is a little awkward, but just, you know, pick on someone after a second, but give them a chance to think, because they're not used to having people actually ask them about themselves. They're used to being infomercialed, is what I call it. Okay, so then the next thing you want to ask, after everybody has had a chance to kind of share something, you know what, I've had some situations where I was concerned, can I share a little bit about my story with you? And they go, yeah, okay. And the reason we do that is people like to give you permission to talk to them and tell them things, and then they don't feel like they've been convinced. So we just ask, okay, you know, can I share an idea with you? Or can I share a little bit about the experience I've had? So that's when you go into your story. Share something very personal, share something emotional, share something that's a success story, share something, you know, why you love this, okay? Do that kind of thing, and then you've set the audience up. Then that's where you go into your presentation. And the fun thing about this is you go into the presentation, and as you start bringing out different oils, talking about what they're used for, how they are used, the simplicity of them, all these different things, then we say, okay, Trina, you talked about that your daughters had ear infections. This might be a great help to you. Okay, and you go on, and as you go through these different products, hopefully you can remember their names. If not, I'll jokingly say, okay, friend with the 5 kids who has had the stomach flu 5 times in the last 6 weeks, this one might be a great fix for you. You know, I kind of joke with them if I can't remember their name. Or sometimes I'll even say, you know what, darn it, I know it starts with a T. Tell me your name one more time. And they tell me, I go, okay, when you talked about XYZ, this is a product that a lot of people have found has been very beneficial for that. So the whole idea is to be connecting through the presentation and pulling out those needs that were already stated and then matching them with what you have as you go along. Okay? And it is so fun. When I started doing this, I had always done well in my company, but when I shifted and started doing it this way, all of a sudden people were I literally doubled my sales. I sold scrapbook supplies at the time, and I could get anybody excited about cute, fun paper stickers, you know, stamps, whatnot. I mean, we can get women excited about crafty stuff. But I made sure that we talked about what are your 3 top memories that if, heaven forbid, something happened, you want to have 3 memories recorded. What 3 memories would they be? And they would be looking for the paper and the products they wanted and needed just to record those 3 memories. And what happened was I got more repeat business because it wasn't something that was just bought on a whim. It was something that they bought because they really wanted and needed. I also got more referrals, more bookings, all this because people felt how much I cared about what they got. And I know you do too. I know you totally care. This is why you sell this product. It's just this gives you a way to show how authentic you are, show how much you care about them and the product that you sell. So when you go through these questions, so a couple other questions that you can do as you're going through the presentation to help you is when, you know, you bring out a product, and this might be something you do, you know, out of 30 days, how many, you know, days out of 30 or 7, how many nights out of 7 do you ever struggle with sleep? Okay, you want to ask as many open-ended questions. Sometimes it can just simply be who in your house suffers with allergies, or how many people in your house suffer with allergies. How many people in your house suffer with this kind of issue? How many days a week? How many days a month? All these kind of questions you can ask as you're going along your presentation to draw people in and let them have a little bit of say in your presentation, and it really makes an amazing difference. At the end, one of the couple of things that you can ask is what's been the best idea or information that you've received today. That's going to tell you what stuck with them. What did they hear that they're like, wow, that might be the first thing you want to ask if they're ready to get that product tonight, or, you know, the afternoon, day, whatever, whenever it is you teach it. The other thing is, what are you excited about trying to start using? That's another fun one that you can ask, because people, then when you know that, it's really easy to start writing them up. Or if they had 3 things they wanted to try, or 5 things, or they know 5 other people who need it, can you see as they're telling you the answers to these questions, how you can start getting an idea of who might be my next hostess, who might be someone who's going to want to get the discount, especially if they're like, wow, that's a good idea, but that's expensive. Or who is it that might be someone who might like it as a business because they've talked about their concern for family members or friends. All these little pieces of information that you find out from people as they're answering these questions are going to be these amazing pieces of information that then you can use as you sit down and start doing their, you know, I'm assuming they have like a little order form, right, Hilarie? Have something that they're writing their order on. And so this is an awesome opportunity for that. And the other thing that you can do that actually I just remembered, and I've never added this in my training, which I need to do. One of the other things I do is when you're doing this in a group setting, I have a piece of paper that is that they fill out. They have their name and their contact information on it. And then I ask some of these key questions. I ask, how many days a week do you have trouble sleeping? How many days a week do you this, that? How many, on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you suffer with allergies, or any of these kinds of questions, okay? And what I would do is maybe give it at the end of the presentation, because if they're looking at it while you're presenting, they won't get as much out of you. And by the end of the presentation, there's going to be a different level of interest and a different way they're going to answer the questions. So take the form, and I'll make a sample form. Let me make a note to myself here. And a couple of things that I don't feel like most of the time you need their address. You'll have that on their order form if they ordered. You just need their email address and a phone number, and find out if that's a cell number and if they like to text. Okay, those are the only two communications that you really need unless they're ordering, and that should be on their order form most of the time, especially if they used a credit card. You always have to put that on there. So then you're going to ask 5 to 7 open-ended questions. And I'll have to re-record it. I had a class on how to do booths, and this is the same kind of slip I'd use if I was doing in a booth situation. So you want to have open-ended questions on that slip of paper that you can either have things that they just circle, multiple choice, or you can have 1 to 10. Or the other really fun question is, okay, so let's say that you had a top 5 to 10 ailments that people buy your oils from. Four, sorry. So it could, let's say it's headaches, it's back pain, it's sleeping issues, it's stomach aches, something for their kids, and you would list all those, and you'd say 1 through 10, marking 1 is the top problem you'd like to solve to number 10 I don't have a problem with. They would go through and they'd mark them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 based on which was their top issue that they'd like some solutions to their bottom one. And that would be a really fun way for you to get to know them and better understand what kind of things that they need. So, and you can even do a little drawing for that, because that information is priceless. And we will get to referrals later, but you can add a little part on there for referrals also, and say, everyone who fills this form out completely will do a drawing for, whatever oil it is that you want to give away or something like that. But having this kind of information, especially if it's a really large group, if there's just 3 or 4, you usually have plenty of time to sit down with each person. But every now and then you have someone that has to leave quickly, call me back, let me decide, some things like that. But if you get some information like this from them before they leave, then you have a much better way to know what to talk to them about when you call, and what kind of, how big a hurry you even are to call them back, depending on the kind of feedback that you got from them. So it's really cool to see what information. And you can also, in there, you can be talking a little bit about the business opportunity. You can talk a little bit about, Susie hostess, what she's getting as a perk that night for being a hostess. And when you give it to them at the very end, and then you can ask those questions about how interested are you in getting a discount, how interested are you in getting them for free, how interested are you in making an extra $500 a month with these oils, how interested are you in sharing with other people about the oils. The thing you got to understand is you need to put a couple different options on there. There are different reasons. You guys know this. There's different reasons why people sign up to make it a business. The thing is, in direct sales, 80% of people stay with companies because of relationships, okay? So it might be they need an opportunity to be with people more. It might be money. So you want to have several different options for them. The same with hostessing, okay? Some people really love being the hostess with the mostest, meaning they love people in their home. They love making that new dessert that they found, recipe on Pinterest. They love hosting. Other people, it's like, I'm going to do it if I'm going to get something free out of this. There's nothing wrong with either of those reasons, or if it's something totally different, they just really believe in this. Like for me, I've had my babies at home, and I've almost always used natural things. We have tinctures and stuff from my naturopath that my eldest won't eat curry because the herbs in it remind him of curry, and it's just nasty in that tincture. So for me, like, I've always used that kind of stuff. Okay. So you might have someone who's like, everybody needs to know about something natural. So she just may be passionate about the product and the cause of, let's find something different than all this stuff over the counter. Okay. So everybody has a different reason. And when you have those reasons listed out and they can circle which one or prioritize which one's more important, when you call them back and book the party or hostess coach, let's say you get it on your calendar, some of the things you need to remember, okay? When we did the very first call, we talked about those 3 reasons for doing things. Do you like a group or by yourself? Is it change the world or make money? Is it variety or consistency? Okay? These questions are going to reveal some of that kind of stuff. And if this person's saying, I just love to have people come to my house and I'm going to make my famous cheesecake, and you're talking about getting stuff for free, you're going to shut her down. Okay? You've got to stay focused on what's most important for her. So let me give you another extreme example. I have one gal that I work with, and she is a writer, and she has this amazing book, and I think it's like this fictional kind of, how to explain it? I think it's something similar to like Harry Potter or Narnia or something like that, where it's this great story and it really teaches teens these amazing things about life. And as long as I talk to her about how she's going to help youth, I can give her any assignment, I can challenge her with anything out there. But if I start talking to her about how much money she's going to make and that she's going to have these interviews and she's going to be famous, I mean, she shuts right down. I mean, if you can imagine, thinking about being rich and famous, you think most people, that's what they want. She doesn't. She'll tell you straight out, Michelle, I'm terrified of success. I don't want to be treated different. I'm not interested in being super wealthy. All that stuff totally shuts me down. As long as I'm thinking about youth and what they're going to get out of it, I'm fine, and I can do any activity you sign me to do. And it's the same way with when people are buying stuff, when people are signing up, when they're being hostesses. If you can key into the reason why they're doing that and only talk about that thing or talk about that 80% and the other part 20%, because I mean, this gal does want to recoup her money. I mean, she's had editors and she had people doing the cover and that kind of thing. I mean, she doesn't want to go broke doing it, but she can't, it's not her first priority to be rich and famous. You see what I'm saying? We can have priorities, but have them in a certain order of priority. Okay. So for somebody, it might be, no, I'm going to see how many oils I can get out of this. And then, yeah, I like to have my friends over. Somebody else, it might be, I like to have my friends over. Oh, I get something for free. I don't know. But Susie's going to come over. I mean, everyone's different. And when you can hear that and realize they're not going to do things for the same reason you are, it's the same way with recruiting. Almost every single person I work with recruiting, when they come up with their first questions, and I'll see how narrow they are, sometimes I'm like, I bet those are the 3 reasons you signed up, huh? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, but those aren't all the reasons why somebody might sign up. And they're like, oh. And so you've got to have this broad range of questions so you can find where people's, trigger points are, and you feed on that. And it just makes you a much more understanding, more authentic person, both in sales and recruiting and helping team members. It's amazing to see what happens. Because, I mean, I would love to celebrate this gal's success and joke about how much money she's going to make, but it just won't work. Okay, Hilarie, go for it. You're still muted, girlfriend.
Now everyone's screaming. Sorry. No, I guess I used to get a lot of referral bookings for classes, and probably the last 4 months, it's just slowed way down. And I'm not getting anyone to host. And so when you brought up talking about hostess benefit and maybe kind of doting on your host for a minute? I mean, do you find that that really makes a difference of, oh, thank you, Mary, for hosting class, and this is what Mary gets, a great gift if anyone else wants to host? I mean, is that what you're suggesting to do?
I'm saying that you need to make sure that you cover all the different whys for having a party. Okay,
I don't see that anymore, and I thought, well, maybe that's why I'm not getting anyone who wants to, because they're not thinking, oh, what's the benefit for me?
Mm-hmm. If you're not talking about it, that's probably one of the issues, I'm guessing. But
I mean, I do ask some of them, like, would you like to host a class? And do you have family members who would like to learn about empowering their health? And they're like, yeah, no. So maybe I just need to get, like you said, that other personality of people who want free stuff, because that's the way I am. I'll host for just about anything for free stuff.
right. Yeah, and I cannot tell you, you know what, in all honesty, when I think about all the parties that I did, I would bet that the ones that they loved getting all their friends there probably were my higher parties because they usually had more people attending than those who were just doing it for the free stuff. Maybe not, but you see what I'm saying? Like, you're narrowing down who your hostess is going to be if you're not broadening the reasons for being a hostess.
Yeah, well, it's hard because I've been trying lately to focus more on, so did you enjoy learning this? And do you have other family members who could benefit from learning from oils? And
okay, so can I slow you down for this? Both those questions were yes/no questions. And I know you have kids around, so maybe you ask them different when you're not being on the spot with me and with kids in your head. But make sure, tell me what you learned, so if you don't already do this, let me give you a couple tips, because maybe Trina will also get something for this. But what did you learn from the class that was most beneficial? Who else do you know? Who did you think about? Most people like, wow, I wonder if so-and-so would benefit from this. Is there anyone that popped into your head when we were talking about the back pain or, these different things? And ask them, who else do they know? Do you see what I'm saying? Is that what you already do? Or were they more the yes/no questions that you just stated?
That's what I guess more yes or no. But that I'm trying to, instead of being like, because I, for a while was, hey, if you want to host, you get a free oil and you can take it home tonight. Because that's how I jumped on board. It's, oh yeah, I want an oil now. But then I found not everyone was biting to that anymore. So I figured, okay, maybe I need to appeal to the other type of people who do it for, empowering others, saving the world. But now I'm getting nothing from that. So I thought, well, maybe I'm not even really talking about hosting. Occasionally when I see someone who I think would be a good host, I ask them, would you like to host? And it's always like,
Well, so I have to admit, I believe in asking every single host. I definitely believe in asking every single customer. Okay. I feel like that's pretty important, is to make sure you ask every single one and not what, we kind of call prejudge or pre-qualify. And I have a really amazing story with that, actually. There was this gal, and at this point I was selling clothing. Okay. And this clothing was so cute. And there was clothing for all different types of body types. And I could dress almost anyone and make them feel 10, 20 pounds thinner and feel just super cute and excited and stand a little taller. I mean, I loved this job, okay? It was so much fun. Loved dressing people. This gal was short and she was round, and these t-shirts were meant to be a little bit longer, so they kind of went over, if you had low-rise jeans. And nothing looked good on her. I'm not kidding. There was nothing I could do for her. And I tried everything there was, and it didn't fit right. It didn't look good. And I didn't even want her to buy anything because they did not look good on her. And we had these t-shirts you could buy in 3 packs. You could decide which 3 different colors you wanted. And she decided to order some t-shirts, which I was just kind of rolling my eyes because they were too long for her. They looked awful on her. By the time they were wide enough, they were way too long for her. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And in the back of my head, I'm going, okay, you ask every person if they want to have a party. And probably with a very slightly sarcastic tone of voice, I'm like, so you want to have a party? She goes, yeah, actually I do. And I'm thinking, why would you have a party? These clothes look horrible on you. And I'm just like stumped. I'm like, okay. She goes, I have a daughter who lives about 30 miles from there. And then I have another daughter, this was in Montana. that's coming out from North Dakota next week, and they would have so much fun having a girls' night trying these clothes on. They would just love it. Yes, I'm totally going to have a party for my daughters. And I was like, okay, what if I not had asked? Okay, so she has a party. Her daughter has a party. She signs up with the clothing company with me, and then when I switched companies to jewelry, she signed up with that. She had recruits. I cannot tell you how many benefits I got out of asking the short, fat lady who should not have been wearing any of these clothes if she wanted to have a party. Okay, I learned my lesson that night, luckily in a positive way, because I was in shock at how that she had this party, wanted to, but she had totally different reasons than I saw coming. I had no idea she had all these cute, stylish daughters who, weren't round and chunky yet. And I had a blast with these girls. I sold to these girls over and over again, and so much fun. And this lady was just super, super sweet. And so you have to ask every single person, but you can ask enough questions to find out, hey, you were talking about you wanted these 3 oils, and there's only the one you could get tonight. Would you like to get the third one or the second and third one by having some friends over? Do you see what I'm saying? You can be asking enough questions that you can kind of pull on the reasons and the things that were important to them that night to then find out if having a party is something that, a class, I apologize. A class is something that's a good fit for them, or if they know someone else that would be, or if 2 gals would like to have one together and invite a variety of people or different family members. There's a lot of different ways to do this, and we'll do a thinking outside the box class in a couple weeks, and that's one of those classes where you can start thinking about, how can I do this with more people at once, or with a number of people, or get my attendance up, so have 2 hostesses on the same night, or do you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of different ways to do things. And the thing is, you probably have heard of different ways to do things, and there's a good chance that it's just you haven't tried all the ideas you've heard yet. And that's just totally, utterly normal, okay? Because we kind of get in our habits and the things we know how to do, and so we do that. And if it's working pretty well, we kind of stick with that. And then sometimes it's like we just know it's time to step it up and do something a little different. Does that help, Hilarie? Did that answer your question? Yeah? Okay. All right.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I have, I'm sitting here trying to think of questions I could ask, and all I can think of are yes, no.
Okay, so tell me some of those, and I'll help you make them open-ended. Or sometimes there's a follow-up open-ended question based on if it's a yes, no.
So if it's a mom with kids, so if I'm looking at myself when I first started, we were always sick. So I would ask a person like me, so do you have other friends who have kids who, tend to get sick a lot and always have bugs that we could empower and teach?
So how about, who do you know who has a similar situation that you're concerned about with, you have 5 kids, if a disease comes home, it spreads through their whole family. Who else do you know with a similar situation? One of your best ones is going to be based on the different, I'm not sure what word you use, based on the different ways we can help people with these oils, who are some people that popped into your mind? And you can prompt them. Like, I just need to come to one of your presentations, but depending on, if you talked about the immune guard, if you talked about the blue eyes, if you, talked about something that gives you energy, the one for digestion, when they look kind of stumped, they get kind of there's that pregnant pause, it's totally okay to prompt them and go, okay, so some of the things covered with the digestive and the blue ice and this for this. Who have you thought about that has been complaining about those problems and might benefit from, might like, the phrase I like, Hilarie, is who might like to find out if this would be a good fit for them. Because it takes the pressure off. It doesn't sound like we're trying to be know-it-alls and we're coming in, we're going to save the day. People just don't like that. They like to feel like, oh, I heard about this new thing and I empowered myself by buying it and now I made this good choice. My life is better versus someone came in and saved me. Do you see what I'm saying? So tell me another yes, no question.
It's kind of pulled into all the things we've just talked about. I'm trying to think of. Do you know anyone else who are looking into more preventative health care?
Okay, so I'm going to repeat it back to you, and I bet you you can do this one. Okay, ready? You said, do you know anyone else who is concerned about preventative health care? How would you rephrase that? Instead of do you know, what's the first three words need to change to?
Who in your life?
Who do you know? Yeah, who in your life or who do you know? Yeah.
So what would you do for like trying to stimulate electronic, I don't know, marketing? Like Facebook, like how would you word something so people will be like, oh, I want to host a class? First person who emails me back or whatever gets a free intro kit of oils who wants to host a class. But then I thought, well, does that seem too needy? I don't want to come off desperate.
No, there's a difference between being needy and thanking people for giving you the opportunity to work with them. I guess for me, my belief on social media is you get a prompt, you kind of see if you can get someone to bite. You know, we're kind of fishing, okay? We see if somebody bites, if they comment, if they like, if they, you know, hey, you know, who's being bugged by these spring allergies like I am? Do you see what I'm saying? You kind of figure out who has some common needs and then privately message them and get permission to give them a phone call. I don't really believe bribes. I mean, it's kind of a bribe. Those kind of incentives I don't see work real well. When people just want it for free, it sometimes backfires a little bit. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's more of a it's just seeing who bites from the question, whether they comment or they hit like or something like that, and then know that's who you want to chat with. And the thing is, we are going to get to a point, Hilarie, where we create a referral system, and that's going to help you a lot to get names from people. And so these kind of tactics that you see other people use all the time won't be things that you'll need to brainstorm so much about. You can get a list of names that people give you, and you can focus on calling those. I do like the post that Jordan put out. It's just very informational about what the different oils do. And it's just, if I like how it feels, because it just seems very, I just think I just like this information, so I just wanted to share it with you. So like 5 of those posts, and then one that kind of asks a question. If you could solve one of these 3 problems, which would it be? Allergies, back pain, or sleep apnea, or I don't know. I mean, do you know what I mean? I'm making things up. You could make up whatever top 3 you think would show the most interest. And based on people's comments, or even, hey, you've seen me post about oils. I like your success stories, Hilarie. I'm going to say this because I care about you. They sort of, I think, can come off just a little bit, trying to think of a word. Instead of just being excited about the benefits you got out of it, it does come off a little salesy or a little kind of, I'm not sure if know-it-all. It just, I'm trying to think of a way to word it that it could be more of like, wow, I'm surprised. I had this situation with my kid and we used this and I'm so excited that it worked. Instead of, I'm so grateful I have this oil, it just feels a little different sometimes. Or, hey, has anybody else had this situation? Wow, this just happened to me and I can't believe this thing was a great fix for it. Do you see how it feels just a teeny bit different? Because I totally get why you're sharing the success stories, and I believe in success stories too. I'm wondering if maybe something like a blog with your success stories and others of clients, and where it's a very deliberate blog. Hey, you know, if you've ever wondered what the perks of the oils are, here's a place where a whole bunch of stories are placed. And by the way, here's the latest post of a, you know, great perk that someone's had from the oils, or my latest, you know, how it's been a benefit to my family. It's just, I don't know. How do you feel about that idea, Hilarie?
Yeah, that sounds like fun. I've been toying with an idea of doing either a Facebook page or something, kind of like what Jordan has, but
Yeah. The Facebook page, I have to tell you, the Facebook pages suck because they're not, Facebook really controls how many people see it. Okay. It's just as annoying as all get out. I would say you'd have more success on Google Plus because Google Plus doesn't control who sees when you share. When you share it with a group that's liked you, everyone's going to see it. Okay. You're lucky if a third of the people see it when they've liked your page on Facebook. It's just, oh, it just makes me nuts. So whereas if you did a blog and then you shared it on Google Plus and you shared it on your personal page, those kind of things, or your personal profile page is a business thing. The pages are just, oh, I wish there was a perfect solution to it. The only way to help get it out is if you tag other people on that picture. If it's a picture, I don't know if you're gonna be able to tag other people if it's a post.
okay. Are very many people on Google Plus? Because until now, I'm not really.
Yeah. No, there's tons of people. There's tons of groups. It's a new thing that you have to take some time to play with. And based on the goals you have right now, I'm not sure this would be the time to do it, where you kind of have very focused activities right now. If you're feeling like you're coming to a dry bucket in your sales pool, then maybe you want to do that. But I'm not sure that would be where I'd put my energy first.
Okay, so maybe like a blog and then posts. Because I've seen people say, oh, updated the blog, and then they have a link off the blog on their Facebook page.
Right, exactly. So, and like I said, it can just be perks of oils. I mean, I've always wondered what all can it do. You know, I would, blog stalk someone on that to go, okay, do I really want to know about this or not? Is this just a fad, or is this something that really works? Do you know what I mean? So I think that could be a good idea. We have somebody else that's on the call, 541. Do you have someone with an Oregon number on your team?
My mom, but that's not her number.
I have a 541-610-132. Hello, who's our extra caller here? Hi, who's this?
That was the code to sign on.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I don't know. I see a box there. I have no idea what it is.
That's what I used to sign on. That's what the link was for me.
Oh, I don't know.
You're using an iPad. So maybe it's me. I don't know.
No, I don't know. It just barely showed up just now. All right. So what have you learned from this, Trina? What do you see yourself using from what you've learned today?
Well, okay, so I'm listening choppy because
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
interrupted all the time.
It's totally okay.
I think, well, I just have to put everything together from every class because I am really not good about approaching people about any of this stuff. I'm not a very good salesman.
You don't need to be a good salesman. That's the whole thing. You don't want to be salesy. That's the perks of the way you do this, because you're just getting to know people.
Well, I think it's more of I have to start practicing using them more, and my classes are generally far apart. So then I forget. I don't know. I need to figure out how to start putting this stuff into practice so it becomes more natural and rolls off the tongue instead of having to really think about it.
You know,
I like the open-ended questions. I think those are probably more, you're going to get more out of people than just a simple yes or no.
Right. The thing is, like, you can even do something like come up with 3 open-ended questions to ask your husband versus just, how was your day, actually is an open-ended question. But what would be something else we could ask them that might not get us, you know how we just get that yes, no sometimes from our husband. Maybe your husband's more talkative than mine is.
My husband's very talkative.
Oh, okay.
Most of the time I'm like, get to the point.
God, come on. So it could be a friend, it could be a sister, it could be a mom. I mean, you could practice open-ended questions just being a normal, as a mom, as a wife, as a friend. Like, you can practice open-ended questions and challenge yourself to do more open-ended in your everyday life than just in business. And, my understanding was your goal, it would be nice to have this happen goal, not necessarily set in stone, would be if you were able to work part-time as a nurse, but then do this part-time. That kind of, in theory, would be great, right?
Yeah, it's, I think that's why I have the hardest time is because I don't, sounds bad, but as far as doTERRA goes, I don't have this like extreme drive at the moment because financially I'm okay.
Right.
So I'm not looking to really supplement. I just really like the products, and because we're so budgeted, I don't have this like endless funding that I can just buy what I want. So I'm doing it mostly so I can fund my addiction.
That's okay.
For lack of a better word.
Well, and it kind of sounded like, I mean, am I remembering wrong that maybe even being home with your girls a little more is something that you wanted to? Or
if it's possible, but but the problem is there's this balance of how hard do I work to get there? If I'm working so hard to get there, doing my normal job and doTERRA, that then I'm taking a lot of time away from my family, then that is defeating my.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. Yeah. Well, so there's a couple things to think about, and they're your goals, okay? I'm just going to give you some ideas, but they're not like, I think you should do this. It's just food for thought, okay? If you're doing it more consistently, so most of the time, okay, the basic general rule is if you do less than 4 activities a month, it's a hobby, and hobbies cost money, okay? So if there was any way to find a way to be consistent about doing 1 a week on average for a month, I mean, it could even be 1 week you have less shifts at work and you do all 4 in 1 week. I don't care. But it seems like if you were doing them weekly, 1, the verbiage would roll off your tongue a little easier. You'd be practicing them. When you did do classes, my world, it was parties, I apologize. When you do classes, your sales will probably go up, and you'll have a more consistent stream of people to either bring into the business or do classes with, or that type of thing. And if you get enough people under you, then, there's some residual income that's coming in, and you're not necessarily having to be gone and, make a call here and there. So, and yeah, you do have to want it to get to that point. And I'm not going to lie to you. It doesn't just happen on its own. And, you can decide what you want to do and what would be the real perks of it. If if it is worth fighting for. And one of the things, one of the classes that I teach, one of my chapters is on sacrifice. What one TV show could you do without that week, or what one activity could you do, or could you blow off, reading for 3 months, your favorite novels or something. But I do believe in putting an end date on those sacrifices, or it just feels like it's going to go on forever and ever. And that's a bad feeling. And then we get resentful and pissy, quite frankly. In my world, there was always a cruise to earn or something like that. And I'd work myself crazy till I earned that cruise. And then I kind of didn't want anything to do with the product anymore because I was tired. So there kind of has to be like a reward or an end to, okay, I'm going to push this hard for this long to get to this point, and then I'm going to level out and do this many. You've got to have something to look forward to. But that something for you is different for everybody. It might be money. It might be time with kids. It might be, like you said, your play money, whatever that is kind of your not have to report to anybody money, depending on how important that is to you. I mean, everybody's different. So you can't let it be based on somebody else's idea of a perk, okay? Like for Hilarie, these certain levels in her company are very important to her, and somebody else it's not going to be. Just be careful that your goal doesn't get swayed by either the company or just some idea that sounds good for the time, but then you get doing it and you realize that really isn't worth it. Really dig deep and figure out what's in it for you and if that's something you'd really like to do. I mean, do you like when you do the classes? Do you enjoy doing the classes? Do you enjoy the work of doTERRA?
Yeah, I enjoy the classes, and it's it's not just that. It's my husband's opinion on the time that I spend on it too. So
Sure.
That makes like me doing a class a week would probably not fly for him.
Okay.
So anyway, but I enjoy it when I'm doing them. I enjoy, people asking me about them.
Mm-hmm.
What should I do for this? And what should I do for that? And I mean, I enjoy it all. And, yeah, I don't know. I guess I need to dig deep and figure it out.
No, that's okay. That's totally okay. That's the thing. Most people don't know what their goals are, quite frankly, or what's most, it's like we do live in a country where we're much more affluent than most other places in a country. We have food, we have basic needs, things are covered. And it just kind of depends on, and it sounds like you and your husband have a very good way of balancing and budgeting, and you have systems in your life that are working for you. And you just, do you have to ask questions of yourself. Do I like doing the classes more than I like nursing? Or am I more passionate about these alternative medicines than I am some of the westernized medicine? Am I, you got to find out what you like about it. And then, how many classes would I have to do to replace that much income? Does that make any sense? Ask yourself all those questions. And you're not going to know until you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the other thing is you can start trying some of these other tips and go, oh, do my sales increase? Does this help me get to where I want to faster? Oh, is there a way to do this smarter versus harder? Maybe you throw 2 hostesses in every 2 weeks and you have them do the classes together, or they're back to back. So you're gone 3 hours instead of 2 hours and your husband doesn't know much different, or you know what I mean? There are creative ways to do things sometimes. Sometimes things are just a no. Now and then they're just a no. I do believe a lot of times we can get creative. But if you're prepping for 1 class, prep for 2, do go all at once. You're not leaving early twice. Do you see what I'm saying? And, talk to him. The other thing you might want to do is make sure your husband has their scheduled time for him. Like, okay, here's my time with you. Put that on the calendar first. And then, oh, by the way, we've had our time, then, I'm going to go do this. And if he's I don't know. I mean, I don't know what his male ego's like, or, if it's just, no, when we have family time, it's family time, and we're both gone a lot because we're both working full time. I don't know. I don't know what his concerns are, the things that are his priorities are, why he wouldn't want you gone that often. But those are just some things that sometimes soften it or make it so it's a win-win situation. Does that help at all, or is that not anywhere close to?
It's helpful. It's just going to take time on my side.
No.
I have to work my angles. It has to kind of be his idea. It's going to take a while.
I am so not good at that. I'm like, look, this is what I want to do. I'm terrible at that.
He's an ex-Marine. That's really all I need to say. And you could probably figure out his personality from there. So yeah. He just, he'll come around eventually. But yeah, to go from 1 or 2 classes up to 4, because I had a 1 week, like a week and a half, I did 3 classes, and I thought he was gonna like have an aneurysm. So yeah, it'll have to be a baby steps up there.
Yeah. No.
So if there's other avenues of,
right.
Like Hilarie's talking about the Facebook page, or, if there's other avenues where I can, find referrals, things like that, that's, I think will be helpful for me.
Right. But look, I mean, the other thing is, look, we're doing this online. None of us left our homes. We're all, we're all at our own homes doing our own thing. There's definitely ways to do classes online. And maybe you find some homeschool girl that comes over and plays with your kids for those 2 hours, and no time was taken from your husband. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? But in my world, I have homeschool kids, so that's why those are solutions in my life. Okay. There are creative ways to do those kind of things. So Barb says, often it's hard to schedule a class or one-on-one when I want to or works for my family. So we will get to a class. We are over 2:00 now, but I'm going to answer your question real quick, Barb. One of the things that's pretty important to do, email from Barb. Okay, is that it's kind of like the goal setting mentality. If you haven't had this kind of experience yet, where you've written down a goal and had it happen like more easily than you're expecting. Like Hilarie has a great story. She needed 4 events. She had a particular kind of event, 4 that she needed in a month. And it was halfway through the month, and I said, I want you to write down, I have 4 events this month. She wrote it down. By the end of that night, she had 2.5 booked. She had a 3 that was a maybe that I think worked out. She ended up having 4 events that month. When you haven't had those experiences yet, sometimes it's hard to believe when I tell you this thing, okay? I really believe in taking your calendar and going, these are the days I'm available. These are how many of those days I'm willing to work. So let's say you have 8 possible days, but you're only going to work 4 of them, okay? You mark your calendar, you say, these are the days I have available. When you sit down with somebody, you always give an optional close. Well, I can do it Tuesday or Thursday or whatever your option is, or Monday or evening or whatever. When you tell them what you have available and you stick to that, okay? You have to stick to it, and it's hard because I'll fudge sometimes too when I shouldn't. Stick to that, and if they go, no, I really have to do it on a Wednesday, hey, no problem. I know several other people who did tarot, and I'll help somebody else get with you. No, but I really like you. Okay, I'll do it on a Tuesday, okay? When you set your goals of when you want to do it, and you kind of have to put it out there in the universe or say a prayer or whatever you want to call it. But this is what I want to work, and this is how much I want to work, and this is how much I want to make while doing that. There's this shift and things really start happening. You have to put it on paper, and you have to start wanting to believe it. I know you won't believe it at first. Okay, I get that. It's not like your mindset's just going to completely change. But it really is cool to see what happens when you start applying that belief and writing these things down and letting the universe help you. Okay, Barb? So decide when you want to work. Decide when you want to do presentations. I'll tell you straight out, I like to do stuff at 6 a.m. because I don't have kids up. Okay. And I do. I find people that want to do stuff at 6 a.m. and it's the best time for me because everybody else is quiet. Nobody's, up and about and that kind of stuff. You can find people that will do things at the time of day that you have available, or as many as you want to do, or get as many as you can at that one time period you have. It's a matter of starting putting it down, saying what you want, and watch and see things happen. Okay? And I know that sounds kind of corny, like you just want me to believe it can happen. Well, yeah, but I want you to decide what you want, write it down, and start making that happen. But stay strict when you're talking to people about when your availability is. Don't waver from that, and you will see things happen. Especially when you're trying to balance like family, you're putting your husband first, you're putting your girls first. Yay, Barb's gonna give that a try. But put those things down and say what you want and then let it happen. Okay, you still do the work, you still try to meet new people, but you're gonna see some cool things happen. Keep your family first, because then you won't get resentful and both you and them will be happier anyway. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to stop this. It's been over an hour. But this is what we'll keep using. Let me know what questions you have. Be sure and send me your assignment so I can go through your questions, your different things, and see how things are clicking for you if we need to review anything. And I hope you have a fantastic week. Thanks for being on the call. Bye, y'all.